The streets of Paris were quieter than usual, muffled by winter fog and the leftover sparkle of Christmas lights clinging to balconies. Belle leaned against the edge of the window in her small apartment, watching the golden lights of the Eiffel Tower flicker in the distance. It was beautiful, in a postcard kind of way. The kind of beautiful you look at but don't feel inside. Inside, her best friend was singing something off-key in the kitchen, dancing barefoot, wearing Steven's hoodie and making hot chocolate like it was a ritual. Belle smiled, barely. She had come to Paris to escape. But no matter how far she went, her thoughts kept pulling her back to one person. Jeremiah. She hadn't said his name out loud in weeks. Not since the flight. Not since the goodbye that hadn't really felt like goodbye. The past summer was supposed to fix things. The ocean, the sun, the shared laughter, the late-night confessions, the promises they made when the stars were too bright to ignore. But instead, it tore things apart in a way that didn't bleed, just bruised. Quietly. Deeply. And then came the silence. No texts. No calls. Just empty time stretching between them like a tightrope neither one knew how to cross anymore. Belle had told herself she didn't care. That he was just another part of a chapter she had closed. That maybe New Year's in Paris would finally mark something new. She told herself a lot of things. Then, her phone buzzed. The name that flashed across the screen made her chest stop for a second, like her heart had skipped and stumbled into something it wasn't ready to feel again. Jay. Not Jeremiah. Just Jay. That's how she'd saved it, back when she didn't know if she'd want to see the full name ever again. She didn't answer right away. She stared at it. 1 ring. 2. Her friend called out something from the kitchen, something about marshmallows, but Belle didn't hear her. 3 rings. 4. She picked it up. Give me the phone, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Her voice cracked when she answered, like something old had suddenly been touched. Hey. There was silence on the other end. Hey, it's me, he said. And just like that, summer came rushing back in a voice that sounded both familiar and foreign. Like hearing a favorite song you hadn't realized you'd forgotten. Belle didn't say anything right away. Her breath caught in her throat. It had been months, but in this moment, it felt like no time had passed at all. The weight of everything unsaid pressed down between them. Jeremiah filled the silence, his voice softer than she remembered. It's really nice to hear your voice. Her eyes burned. She looked away from the window, from the Eiffel Tower, from the whole city. How are you? She asked, her voice smaller than she meant it to be. I'm working. I'm okay. Taylor told me you're in Paris. I am. You tried escargot yet? She laughed. Yeah. Hated it. I told you you would. There was a pause. I've been meaning to call, he said. I didn't know if I should. I didn't know if I'd answer, she replied honestly. He sighed on the other end, not a frustrated sigh, but the kind that lets something go. I'm glad you did. Belle closed her eyes. She didn't know where this was going. Maybe nowhere. Maybe it wasn't about that. I just wanted you to know I'm good, she said. And it wasn't a lie. Not entirely. I hope you're good too. I am, he said, though it sounded like he was trying to convince himself more than her. Another pause. Time stretched out again. The silence wasn't heavy this time, it was full. Of things not said. Of moments they were too scared to name. My shift starts in 90 seconds, he said. I should let you go. Yeah, she whispered. Happy New Year, Belle. Happy New Year, Jeremiah. She didn't hang up right away. She waited until the line went dead on its own. Then she held the phone to her chest, closed her eyes, and let herself feel everything. In the kitchen, her friend was still singing, still dancing, still not knowing that the past had just called Belle from a world away, and that for the first time in months, Belle hadn't run. Before Paris, before the silence, before that midnight call that cracked her armor just enough, there was summer. Not just any summer. Their summer. Cousins Beach. Belle remembered how the sunlight felt warmer there. How the days stretched like they were made of honey and salt. How time didn't move in hours but in glances, touches, and the way Jeremiah said her name like it was a secret only he was allowed to know. She hadn't meant to fall in love. That summer was supposed to be about healing, after everything with Conrad, after the chaos, after the confusion. Jeremiah had always been the safe one. The easy one. The one who could make her laugh in the middle of a storm. But something changed. Maybe it was the late-night swim where he looked at her like she was the only thing keeping him afloat. Maybe it was the way he pulled her hand to his chest when he thought she was falling asleep on the couch. Or maybe it was just the slow realization that safety and passion didn't have to be opposites. They weren't perfect. They had arguments, over little things, over nothing. He was impulsive, sometimes reckless. She was guarded, afraid of opening up too much, too fast. But even their worst days felt better than anything else had before. Until the day everything unraveled. She still didn't know what exactly went wrong. It was like they were walking across ice that had been cracking the whole time, and neither of them noticed until they were sinking. A fight. Stupid, sharp, and louder than it should have been. Jeremiah had wanted her to come with him, to leave Cousins early, to skip town, to just be together without the world watching. He had this dream in his head, something wild and free. But Belle wasn't ready to follow him into a future that hadn't even formed yet. She needed time. Stability. Space. "You always hesitate," he had said, his voice trembling in that way that made her stomach twist. "You always hold back when it matters." "And you always run," she'd snapped back, not even sure where the words came from. "You act like love is supposed to fix everything." There had been silence after that. Real silence. The kind you can't come back from right away. They didn't speak again that night. And the next morning, he was gone. No note. No text. Just a voicemail from Taylor 2 days later, saying Jeremiah had left town. Something about needing a break. Something about heading west. And just like that, the version of summer they had built together collapsed under the weight of what they couldn't say. Back in Paris, Belle opened her journal. She hadn't written in weeks. Maybe months. The pages still held sketches of the beach, half-written poems, and a list of things she never got to tell Jeremiah. At the top of that list, circled twice. "You were more than just a safe choice. You were my heart." She traced the words with her finger, then shut the book again. What was the point now? Across the room, her phone buzzed. This time it wasn't Jeremiah. Just a text from Taylor. "He asked about you. Didn't want me to say anything. I'm sorry." Belle stared at the message. Her chest tightened. So he'd been thinking about her too. She put the phone down, stood up, and walked over to the window again. The city below was alive, people heading to New Year's Eve parties, the distant hum of music, glasses clinking, lovers wrapped in scarves and the illusion of fresh starts. She wondered what Jeremiah was doing now. Was he at work, wiping down counters, pretending he didn't care? Was he re-listening to their call, hearing her voice like it was a lifeline? Or had it been nothing for him, a check-in, a closure, a box ticked before midnight? Belle hated not knowing. She hated that the part of her that still loved him was louder than the part that wanted to move on. And most of all, she hated how that one call had reopened a door she had worked so hard to close. She walked to the mirror and looked at herself, really looked. Same eyes. Same girl. But not the same heart. That girl in the mirror wasn't waiting anymore. She was remembering. And something about that terrified her. The next day, Belle couldn't shake the sound of Jeremiah's voice. It lingered in her thoughts like a song stuck on repeat, quiet, haunting, unfinished. He had sounded calm. Almost too calm. Like someone reading from a script they'd rehearsed 100 times. Like someone trying not to feel too much. But she knew him better than that. And that's what bothered her. She spent most of the day walking through narrow Parisian streets, earbuds in, pretending to listen to music while her mind spiraled into memories she didn't ask for. Every street corner reminded her of something else, a laugh, a fight, a promise they made under moonlight that they never quite kept. She wanted to believe that call was just closure. She wanted to believe she was okay. But if that were true, then why did she keep replaying his voice in her head? By the time she got home, the sun had started to slip behind the buildings. The sky was painted in soft blues and grays, like a bruise waiting to bloom. Her friend wasn't home yet. The apartment was still and